I gave my brother $120,000 to start a business. He spent it on gambling, vanished, and then sued me when I filed a police report. I woke up this morning to a negative balance in my bank account. Not just low, negative. I stared at the screen, heart pounding. My rent was due in 5 days. My credit card bill was overdue. I had no savings left. Every single dollar I had worked for over the last 10 years was gone. And the worst part, it wasn't stolen by some stranger, some scammer on the internet. It was my own family. I should have seen it coming. Looking back, the signs were everywhere. I grew up in a family where love wasn't unconditional, it was transactional. My parents always had a favorite, and it wasn't me. It was my younger brother Ryan, the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one. The one expected to succeed, to take care of everyone else, to be the safety net. And for years, I played my role. I worked hard, built a career in finance, and saved every penny I could. I wasn't rich, but I had $120,000 in savings, enough to start looking for a home, enough to feel safe. But money doesn't mean safety when the people closest to you see you as nothing but a walking ATM. It started with a phone call from Ryan. He sounded excited, his words tumbling over each other. I have this insane business opportunity. A coffee shop chain. It's blowing up, and if we invest now, we'll make a killing in 2 years. I knew Ryan. He was full of big ideas, the kind of person who dreamed about making millions but never stuck to anything long enough to succeed. I was about to say no, when he added, "Mom and Dad already think it's a great idea." That made me hesitate. My parents never encouraged his crazy business ideas. If they were on board, maybe this time was different. Then my mom called. "Ryan is really working hard on this, sweetheart. This could be his big break. He just needs a little help." "You're doing so well financially, you can afford it, right?" Then came the guilt trip, the final push. "He's your brother. You know he'd do the same for you." That was the biggest lie of all. But after years of being the responsible one, I caved. I withdrew $120,000 and wired it directly to Ryan's account. No contract, no paperwork, just blind trust. Ryan promised me everything was moving forward. He even sent me fake updates, talking about rental agreements, branding, hiring. And for a while, I let myself believe it. Until he stopped answering my calls. Until I heard from a mutual friend that Ryan had been spotted at a casino. My heart dropped. Ryan had a history of gambling. He swore he had quit. I was stupid enough to believe him. I drove straight to his apartment. It was empty. Furniture? Gone. His stuff? Gone. Just an eviction notice on the door. I called my parents, my voice shaking. They didn't even sound surprised. "Sweetie, don't overreact, he just needs some time." I felt physically ill. They knew. They knew he was gone. They knew he had taken my money, and they still weren't angry at him. "He'll pay you back, just be patient." They weren't going to help me. I sat in my car for what felt like hours, staring at my hands. Ryan had stolen from me. My parents had let it happen. And now I had nothing. I haven't slept in 2 days. I tried. I really did. But every time I close my eyes, all I can hear is my mother's voice saying, "You're really gonna destroy this family over money?" Like I was the one who did something wrong. Like I was the problem. I keep replaying everything in my head, over and over, trying to find the moment where I should have known. Maybe it was when Ryan first pitched me his business idea. Maybe it was when my parents called me, pressuring me to help him, like it was my duty. Maybe it was the moment I handed over the money without a contract. Because why would I need one? He was my brother, they were my parents, I trusted them, I'm such a fucking idiot. After finding Ryan's apartment empty, I drove straight to my parents' house. I don't even remember the drive. I just remember feeling like I was watching myself from the outside, like none of it was real. When I walked in, my mom looked annoyed. Not shocked, not concerned, just irritated, like I was interrupting her day. "Sweetheart, you look exhausted. Why don't you sit down and we can talk?" Like I was some child having a tantrum. I didn't sit. "Where is he?" she sighed, rubbing her temples. "Ryan just needs some time. You know how he gets." My dad was sitting at the kitchen table, flipping through the newspaper. He didn't even look up. "You're blowing this out of proportion." I felt my stomach drop. They knew before I did. "How long?" Mom hesitated. That half-second pause that told me everything. "A few days." I could barely breathe. You knew he was gone. You knew he took my money, and you didn't even tell me? We didn't want to upset you. I laughed. A short, broken sound that didn't even feel like it came from me. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw something, break something, anything, to drown out the fucking insanity of what I was hearing. Instead, I just said, how much did he owe? My dad finally looked at me then, just for a second. Then he muttered, 100 grand, and that was it. That was the moment my entire body just went numb. There was never a business. No investment, no coffee shop. I had just paid off his gambling debts, and my parents had let me. You let me give him everything I had. You let me believe I was investing in something real. And you knew the whole time that I was just bailing him out. My mom sighed again, the same exasperated sigh she always used when I wasn't being the easy child. Sweetheart, you're young, you have a good job, you'll make the money back. I felt like I was going to throw up. I needed that money too. Silence. For the first time, my dad looked uncomfortable. Like maybe, just maybe, it was finally hitting him that I wasn't just going to let this go. But my mom? She just shook her head, looking at me like I was being unreasonable. You're really going to hold this against him? He stole from me. He made a mistake, but he's family. And then the final blow. If you loved him, you'd forgive him. That's when I knew. They weren't sorry. They weren't even ashamed. In their eyes, I was the problem for refusing to just accept it. You'd really call the cops on your own brother? I should have left. I should have just turned around and walked away. But I needed to say it. I needed to hear what they would say back. Tell me where he is, or I go to the police. My mom gasped, her face twisting like I had just slapped her. You wouldn't. Watch me. He's your brother. I let out a sharp laugh. And? He's a fucking thief. He was in a bad situation. We had to help him. No, you had to help him. I didn't. But you made sure I did anyway, didn't you? And then came the final betrayal. Mom crossed her arms, her voice cold. You're really gonna destroy this family over money? And just like that, it all clicked. They never saw me as a person. I was just a resource, a safety net, a piggy bank for when Ryan screwed up. I didn't say another word. I turned around and walked out. The moment I got home, my phone started ringing. First my mom, then my dad, then my aunts, my uncles, my cousins. She's trying to put Ryan in jail. She cares more about money than family. After everything we've done for her, this is how she repays us? By the next morning, I was completely cut off. I had no money, no family, no one. I sat on my bed, staring at my phone, at the messages, at the dozens of missed calls. And for the first time, I let myself feel it. The grief, the betrayal, the realization that I never really had a family at all. I had two choices. Accept the loss, let them win. Fight back, even if it meant cutting them out of my life forever. I pulled out my laptop and opened a new browser tab. How to report financial fraud. My parents had chosen their side. Now I was choosing mine. I thought pressing charges would be the hardest part. I thought walking into that police station, hands shaking, stomach twisted in knots, and telling a stranger that my own brother had robbed me would be the moment I hit rock bottom. But I was wrong. Because rock bottom wasn't losing my money. Rock bottom was realizing my brother was willing to destroy me to save himself. I sat in my car outside the police station for a full 20 minutes before I forced myself to go in. The officer at the front desk looked bored when I told him I wanted to report theft and fraud. Then he asked me who the suspect was. It's my brother. That got his attention. Filing the report was humiliating. I had to explain over and over again how I had given Ryan the money voluntarily, how there was no formal contract, how I had trusted him because he was family. The officer didn't say it outright, but I could see it in his face, that little flicker of how could you be this stupid? And honestly, I was thinking the same thing. But I still had all the messages, all the calls, the proof that Ryan had promised an investment, that he had lied about the business, that he had disappeared the second he got the money. It wasn't an easy case, but it was something. I thought that would be the end of it. File the report. Let the police handle it. Maybe, just maybe, get some of my money back. But I underestimated Ryan. Because within days of filing that report, I got a letter in the mail. Ryan was suing me. I must have read the letter 5 times before it actually sank in. Ryan wasn't just ignoring my claim. He was claiming that I had given him the money as a gift, not a loan, not an investment. A gift. And now he was suing me for defamation and emotional distress. I couldn't breathe. I called the police station, frantic, asking how the hell this was possible. They told me he has the right to file a counterclaim. It doesn't mean he'll win. But that didn't matter, because now I needed a lawyer. And I was already broke. I did the only thing I could think of. I called my parents. I don't even know why. I guess some pathetic part of me still thought they would see reason. That when they saw Ryan was actually trying to take legal action against me, they would finally step in and stop this. But my mother's voice was calm when she answered, almost smug. Well, sweetheart, what did you expect? What? You went after him first. Did you really think he wouldn't defend himself? I thought I was going to be sick. Mom, he's suing me. And you tried to send him to jail. Because he stole from me. You gave him that money, dear. I couldn't even speak. Then my dad's voice cut in, sharp and cold. You brought this on yourself. That was it. That was the moment I knew I was done. Not just with Ryan, with all of them. I scraped together whatever I had left and found a lawyer willing to take my case on a payment plan. He was blunt with me. This is going to be messy. I didn't care. Ryan had crossed the line. My own brother was trying to ruin me, legally, financially, emotionally, and my parents were cheering him on. I wasn't going to let them win. Lawsuits take time, months of back and forth, of paperwork, of legal fees draining what little money I had left. I moved into a cheaper apartment, sold my car, took on extra work just to stay afloat. Meanwhile, Ryan was living his life like nothing had happened, posting pictures at bars, traveling, spending my money while I was drowning in legal debt. The rage kept me going, but the isolation, that nearly broke me. My entire family cut me off. I was the villain in their story, the heartless sister who tried to destroy Ryan's life over a misunderstanding. Friends I had known since childhood stopped calling. The silence was the worst part. Like I had never even existed to them. Like I had died the second I stopped being useful. I was losing. The lawsuit was dragging on. Ryan had money for a better lawyer, probably with my own damn savings, and my case was hanging by a thread. Until one day, I got a call from my lawyer. We just got something. You're gonna want to see this. It turns out, Ryan wasn't just stealing from me, he was running other scams too. Credit card fraud, fake investments. Other victims, and one of them was pressing criminal charges. I felt something in my chest crack open. For the first time in months, I felt hope. Maybe, just maybe, Ryan was finally about to get what he deserved. I wish I could say this story ends with me getting my money back, my family realizing their mistakes, and some kind of happy resolution where justice is served, and I move on stronger than ever. But life doesn't work that way. The truth is, I won. But it didn't feel like winning. By the time it was over, I wasn't just fighting Ryan. I was fighting my entire family, the legal system, and the version of myself that still desperately wanted to believe in them. And even after everything, after all the proof, after all the lies unraveled, after Ryan finally got what he deserved, my parents still stood by him. But let me start from the beginning. When my lawyer told me Ryan had other victims, I felt something I hadn't felt in months. Hope. One of them, let's call him Mark, had lost over $50,000 in a real estate investment Ryan had pitched. Except, of course, the property didn't exist. Mark wasn't just pissed, he was relentless. Unlike me, he hadn't hesitated to go straight for criminal charges. That was the break I needed. Because up until that point, my case had been shaky. Ryan's whole defense was that I had given him the money voluntarily, that it was a gift, and without a contract it was hard to prove otherwise. But now Ryan wasn't just a bad brother, he was a serial scammer. And suddenly, people started listening. It took weeks of legal back and forth, but one morning I woke up to a news alert. Local man arrested for multiple fraud charges. I held my breath as I opened the article. It was him. Ryan had been taken into custody on multiple counts of fraud. I wish I could say I felt relief, that I jumped up and cheered, that I called someone to celebrate, but all I felt was tired. Because I knew this wasn't over. And I was right, because the second my parents found out, the war really began. I don't know what I expected. Maybe that seeing Ryan in handcuffs would finally wake them up. That maybe, just maybe, this would be the moment they saw him for what he was. But no. Instead, they blamed me. I was at work when my mom's first message came in. Are you happy now? Then another. You got what you wanted, you destroyed your own brother. And then my dad. Blood is blood. I hope you can live with yourself. I was done. I blocked them, deleted their numbers, and for the first time in my life, I accepted that I didn't have a family anymore. Ryan took a plea deal. He's serving 3 years in prison for fraud, not just because of me, but because of Mark and the other victims who came forward. Did I get my money back? No. Ryan had spent most of it, and what was left went to legal fees. I walked away with nothing, no savings, no justice, no family, but I had one thing. Freedom. Freedom from a family that never really loved me, at least not in the way a family should. Freedom from the guilt, the obligations, the endless cycle of giving and never receiving. It wasn't the victory I wanted, but it was enough. It's been almost a year since I last spoke to my parents. Sometimes I wonder if they miss me, if they regret choosing Ryan over me. But then I remember, they didn't choose Ryan. They chose the version of me that existed to serve them. The version that would have walked away from all this. Let Ryan win. Let them keep using me. That person doesn't exist anymore, and I don't think they ever really loved the real me to begin with. I still have debt. I still have anxiety. I still have nights where I wake up sweating, reliving the moment I realized my parents had never been on my side. But I also have peace. And for now, that's enough. If you're reading this and you've ever had to cut off family, I just want to say I see you. I know how much it hurts. But you are not the villain for protecting yourself. And sometimes the people who are supposed to love you will never be capable of it in the way you deserve. And that's not your fault. It never was.